problem that I see with support stuff that comes up from time to time is that they know what they're trying to do, but maybe sometimes their mental model of how all the things fit together isn't right. And so you actually have to figure out, okay, they're having this problem because their mental model of something is broken. And then you have to fix their mental model, and then you can fix the problem.
I would say it's not necessarily broken, Chad. It's just like they don't have the full picture, right? Yeah, they don't know as much.
Whatever, because they're not in it as deep as we are. So we write software, we make assumptions because we're deep in it, and we don't always think about what the customer or the user might not know coming into it.
Well, that's why I think API design is so important and so hard. Is because you're basically trying to wrap all the complexity of what you just built into a language that other people can understand without having to do the deep dive that you did to build it. That's the hard part about an API.
Steve, I was just sort of reflecting on some of the customer support stuff, and what I was remembering is it was some of the most interesting abstractions that we built in our API, some things that we're still proud of today are things that came out of consistent misunderstandings from the customer's perspective, where these things it may have been just like dead simple in our heads, but they were the things that everyone seemed to get confused by. And it forced us to go back and think like there must be a better abstraction here. And a couple of those things that we invented are things that are still part of our like key parts of our product today that just work kind of magically for people that no one knows about. But I can give you one, and given your background in Elasticsearch, you'll probably understand this, but it's a little bit esoteric. There's a difference between like strings that you push into the search engine that are tokenized that you use for matching text, and then like from a keyboard input, and then the types of strings that you use for like creating filters and facets, like a category or something, and like
Yeah, like n-grams versus everything else kind of thing.
exactly. And so we had what we called like an enumerated value, which is like a keyword value in Elasticsearch. Those don't get broken up. They're just the string, right? And then we had a text field, which is like text that gets broken up and then used for matching strings and doing phrase matching and things like that. We had two different field types for those. And we realized that no one really understood the difference from the outside. They were kind of like, oh, well, why would I choose one for the other? It's all text, right? They're all words. And this caused all these problems. And so we ended up just storing everything as both. And when someone used every text field, we just stored as both the text field as an enumerated value or as a keyword. And then anytime someone used it as a filter under the hood, we just made sure that we referenced the keyword version of it. And if they used it for search, we referenced the text version of it. But all of that stuff was on our side, at least inside the software. And we never had a problem with it again. But it's one of those things that no matter what we did in the documentation to explain why you would use one over the other, it's just not the sort of thing that people are thinking about when they're just thinking about building a search engine. And this actually came up in Elasticsearch too. It wasn't in an early version of Elasticsearch, but eventually Elasticsearch built an abstraction over this as well, because I think that the team at the time, it was before we had joined, I think they realized that their customers were also finding similar challenges. So it was actually fascinating to see that happen, especially once we were on the inside. We're like, yeah, no, we know that problem, right? So it's stuff like that.
That's a good example. Like, and you're right. It's esoteric. It's pretty deep in the product, and once you understand it, it's a little bit demystified. But it's still not, because like at the end of the day, I just want to be able to do search and filtering at the same time. And why can't I do that? Yeah.